Welcome, everybody. You are here at the Revolutionize Your Marketing show, running live on the World of Ability Podcast Network. I'm Kurt Roskoff. I am from the World of Ability Podcast Network, and we are pleased to have our friend John on here, who runs the Revolutionize Your Marketing show and has a great guest ready to go. And we're going to have quite a powerful 25 minutes of it here. And then John and I will be doing a little bit of a wrap up. And the Revolutionize Your Marketing mantra is all things marketing. So we're going to hear what our guest has to do, and then we're going to unpack it a little bit from the marketing perspective. So come on in here, John. Welcome to again your Revolutionize Your Marketing show. Take it away. Let's get your welcome here and your perspective on your own show. Revolutionize Your Marketing, John. Take it away.
Thank you for the intro, Kurt. Tongue-tied tonight. Welcome everybody to another episode of Revolutionize Your Marketing, being live streamed on Mill City Marketing MA's YouTube channel. I have a special guest on tonight who, just as of a couple of days ago, I believe, got a book released. Let's bring in Geoffrey Kent. How are we doing, Geoffrey?
I'm doing good, very well. And you?
I'm doing good. Getting a little hot around here up in New England, but so why don't we let people know where you are and kind of a rundown as to what you've been through to get to where you are.
Yeah, well, you catch me at a good time. I was actually in Syracuse, New York this morning at my parents', but I am currently in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I drove from there this morning, and it's about a 4-hour drive. So I'm home now in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, and just suburban Northwest Philly, and yeah.
All right. So how did you start off being an entrepreneur?
So my very first entrepreneurial venture was I was 12 years old in eighth grade in Syracuse, New York. I'm a military brat. My dad was career Air Force. He's 98 years old now and a World War II vet. But we moved from Germany back to the United States to Syracuse, New York, by way of Niagara Falls, New York. But when we got to Syracuse, met a couple friends, and they told me about an opportunity to make some extra money sacking groceries for tips at the base commissary or the grocery store. And so they told me, since you're hanging out with us, why don't you come and apply for a job? Come with us to work tomorrow, apply for a job, and maybe they'll give you a job, and you can make some money. So I did that. And then found out very quickly that I had some natural talents that allowed me to be much more efficient at what I was doing than my peers. And so I was making a lot more money than them. And the entrepreneur piece came in, and that, I've always had a sweet tooth. And so, I would, graze down the candy aisle and look at all the candy, and, things tended to be sold in bulk at the commissary. So, and I was always really good at math. So I would look at a bag of candy that was a particular candy that was really popular with kids at school. And I would see, how many pieces of candy were in the bag, what the bag costs. And I'd immediately do the calculating to figure out how much each piece of candy cost. And then when I did that, I realized that, I had, not only friends on the Air Force Base, but I had friends who didn't live on the Air Force Base. And so when I would, have these sleepovers at a friend's house off base, we might go to the store and buy some candy. And so I knew what kids off base were paying for candy, and I knew the price of buying this in bulk was substantially less than what kids were paying off the base. So the idea came to me, hey, why don't I take all my tip money, buy as much candy as I can buy and take it to school and resell it, at a margin. And and so I did that and made even more money. And so that was, the start of it. How I came up with that idea, I've been asked that. I have no idea because there were no entrepreneurs in my family. I'm the first. I had no entrepreneurial mentors. So I wasn't exposed to entrepreneurship. And at 12, I didn't even know, if you told me the word, I wouldn't even know what it meant. So I to this day still have no idea how I came up with this idea to do entrepreneurship, but I realized because I was dabbling in entrepreneurship part time, once I became an adult, while I was working in corporate America, I was doing incredibly well in corporate America, but I hated it. I was failing at every entrepreneurial venture, but I loved it. And at the age of 41, I decided to leave corporate America for good and pursue entrepreneurship full time. And when I did, that was one of the smartest decisions I'd ever made in my life because every venture I've launched post corporate America has been successful, each venture more successful than the previous. And so my last venture, which was a private cloud computing information technology support service company, I actually launched it in 2007, sold it in 2013, and haven't had to work since.
That is how entrepreneurship works, folks,
Yeah,
and from a very young age.
yeah, yeah. No, there,
Uh,
there's you'll find that most entrepreneurs, not every entrepreneur, but most entrepreneurs tend to dabble in this when they're really, really young. The signs are the traits and the signs tend to exhibit themselves at a really young age. The interesting thing is most entrepreneurs can't see those signs, but everyone else can, right?
yeah, yeah. Hi. Let's talk a little bit real quick about your online course that I see behind you.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, again, so through this, particularly this last venture, um, this information technology company that I launched literally. I had two co-founders. We pulled together like $2,000 to launch the company. We were operating out of a friend's the loft in his townhouse, so we had probably 200 square feet of space between the three of us. When we started the business, and we grew it into one of the fastest growing companies in the world. It was an Inc. 5000 winner. Philly there's an award called the Philadelphia 100 fastest growing privately held companies. We were on that list, very high on that list every single year we were in business. And as I said, I sold the business 6 years after I launched it. So, after that, after I sold that venture, I had a lot of time to think about what I had done, and I realized, particularly, well, not only that venture, but everything else I had done, that there is actually a formula for entrepreneurial success, right? And so I had discovered that, and then the formula is actually really easy to find. Successful entrepreneurs, and there have been plenty of them throughout history, all are vain enough to write a book about their experience, right? So they tell the world how to succeed, and you can find those stories and the formula, by going on Amazon or going to Barnes and Noble or your local bookstore and just buying those books and reading them. And the books are easy to read because an author is not going to make their book difficult to read because no one would buy it. So the formula is easy to find, it's easy to understand, it's incredibly difficult to implement, right? But I discovered the secret to that, and it's taking the time as an entrepreneur to figure out what you like to do and what you're good at doing, you know, and taking the success formula and customizing it to your strengths and your likes, and at the same time figuring out what you don't like to do, what you're not good at doing, and making sure you outsource anything that your business needs done that falls into the category of I don't like this or I'm not good at it, right? And when you do that, you exponentially increase the probability for entrepreneurial success.
And speaking of bookstores. You just had a book get released in the last couple of days, didn't you?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It took almost a year to write, but with a co-writer. But we we finished the book. We got printed last week, and it got uploaded onto Amazon on Tuesday of this week. And so it should be available for purchase within the next day or two. But and if you want to see it, this is what it looks like. Uh, so, How to Create a Passion-Led Business is the primary name of the book, and then the subtitle is The Ultimate Guide to Winning as an Entrepreneur. But it's loosely based on my course. You'd asked me about my course. So I
Yeah.
created when I sold my last business, I created a 7-week self-paced online course to walk entrepreneurs through the nitty-gritty details of how would you launch from nothing, exponentially scale the business that you started to a desired exit, and through that desired exit, secure your individual future and create generational wealth for your family, right? So
Mhm.
I had accomplished that, and I wanted to show other people, other entrepreneurs, how to do the same thing. And so the book that I just wrote is a condensed version of that course, right? So some people will be able to take the book and replicate my success. Some may take the book and say, okay, well that's good. I have the blueprint, but I still need some hand holding to get to the goal line, and then they can supplement that by taking the course as well.
Well, I will tell you one thing. I will probably be buying that book next month.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm very proud of the book. I think it's got a lot of really good information, really rich information. I consider it to be, when I think of, what is this book? It's the strategic blueprint to, get you to where you want to go as an entrepreneur. Um, and so, what I'm setting you up for is my next book will be the tactical blueprint to get you there.
Yeah.
And I think that having those two things, will make it incredibly easy for you to achieve what you want to achieve as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I know what you mean about taking a year to get the book accomplished. My I'm working on a book myself too, and
Yeah,
it's been kind of an on-off process since the
yeah,
fall
yeah,
of 23.
yeah,
So
yeah.
mine's already been over a year. And
Well, I liken it to having children. You with your first child, you're going to make a ton of mistakes, right? Right.
yeah,
Time you get to the second, third, fourth, it's you know all the mistakes, you know how to navigate around them and over and above
yeah.
them. So
Writing a
everything's a
book
lot
is
easier.
not an easy process, and it
No, no,
sometimes
not
it
at
takes a lot of people involved.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because writing's one part of it. Someone's got to edit it, make sure, all the grammar is correct and all the spelling mistakes are out. You might, depending on the book, you might have pictures. So, someone needs to illustrate the book. Um, Someone's got to format the book to make sure that, all the typing's consistent within the book. Um, and then it's got to get printed. And you may have other, my book has an introduction, it has a foreword. Um, I acknowledged people. I dedicated the book to people. So there are a lot of elements to, to a book, and yeah, and it's a process. But the good news is when you go through it one time and you go through all of those steps and figure out actually how to do this, you know, I think the second, third, fourth book become incredibly easier to do, and will probably take a lot less time.
Yeah. Now, the other day I heard you were talking about the people that you found to help you through the way with the different parts. How many people were actually involved?
Wow. I had that written for when I was talking the other day, so let's see. I had a co-writer. I had Someone wrote a foreword, someone wrote an introduction. Um, uh, we had a formatter, we had an editor, and a printer. So there's six unique individuals involved in, other than myself, with some part of the process. I'm sorry, seven, because the illustrator as well. So seven people. And it could have been eight, but the one person both formatted the book and printed the book. So, but you could have two distinct people do that.
Yeah. How did you find all these individuals?
I actually, and you and I are connected through alignable.com. Alignable, which is a social networking platform, has been incredible. I mean, everything I do through Alignable. And so I ended up, I speak, fairly frequently, public speak. And so I was speaking in New York City, and one of the co-speakers, um, uh, you know, I got to know them, before the event, and then we stayed in touch. And so when I created my online course, when I completed the course, I had a focus group take the course. And then when I asked for their feedback, they said, Jeff, we love this course, but no one outside of Philadelphia knows who you are. You need to work on personal branding, and because if people know who you are, it'll be easier to sell your course. So I then reached out to my network, and I'm like, okay, I've been told I need to work on personal branding, but that's not my area of expertise. I need someone to help me. Does anyone know any personal branding coaches? And so this person that I had spoken on a dais with, um, who was onlineable, said, "Hey, I know someone you need to speak to." And so she introduced me to, a branding expert, started working with him, um, and then, you know, uh, you know, he basically said, You really need to write a book." And so I said, okay, well, I've thought about doing that. I actually started the process years ago, and then got sidetracked to creating an online course. And so I said, well, if you need a co-writer, I can direct you to someone, who can help you out. This person, of course, was also onlineable. So I connected with my co-writer. We started writing, and then once the book was done or pretty close to it, we realized there are all these other steps that needed to happen. So I had already found my co-writer. I had found my branding person through Alignable. I said, why not reach out to Alignable and see if I can find all these other people? So I was able to find, the editor, the formatter, the printer, the illustrator, all through Alignable.
Yes, that's one thing Alignable is great for.
Yeah.
Um, you can connect with, I think it's what, 9 million people
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Um,
I mean, so the my branding person, kind of helped me understand, because when we talked about Alignable versus other platforms, he said, all of these other platforms are social media platforms. He said Alignable is a social networking platform. And then it kind of clicked, and I got it, and I was like, okay, well, and their philosophy is, get to know, like, and then hopefully trust someone as a better way to do business with them, right? And they lead with that philosophy, and everything they do kind of walks you through that process. So when you're writing a book, I mean, it could be a lot of things that you're looking to do, but when you're writing a book and you need all these resources, you know, what better way to find them than through a social networking platform?
right. That's that's like the person I met on through Alignable. She spends most of her time on a different platform, but she is
Yeah,
on Alignable.
yeah,
And she teaches people how to get who don't even know anything about writing a book
yeah.
to get the story out of their head and on
Okay.
paper,
Yeah, yeah.
and getting them self published is her
Okay.
thing.
Yeah,
And I found her on Alignable, and she's a really super person. Knows what
yeah.
she's doing. She did it with her own book.
Okay.
She has it in print and audio.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and that's that's who I'm getting some help from on my book.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I may be
Okay.
looking to you for
Yeah.
some names
Yeah. 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 No,
when it
no,
comes
no, no
time.
problem. No, happy to help. No,
And
yeah, have collected this group of people that are great at what they do. I absolutely, because I have more books in my mind that I want to write, and so I'm going to go through this process multiple times again, and want to use all of the people that I've used for this book because I'm incredibly happy with this book, how it turned out, and it was an absolute pleasure working with the people that I worked with.
yeah, and now you have the team already put together for next time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's one of the key things is getting a team put together that happy and glad to work with one another too.
Yeah, well, as I mentor entrepreneurs, I always tell them you need to build an A team. An A team gives you the highest probability of reaching your vision. And it's like, there's the old adage that, you give an A idea to a C team, they'll find a way to fail. You give a C idea to an A team, they'll find a way to succeed, right? So
Yeah,
you always want to surround yourself with an A team. So it's no matter what you're doing, find the best and brightest you can find who absolutely love what they do and are great at what they do, and get as close to them as humanly possible, and bring them into whatever it is you need to do. So
yeah. Um, so your book should be available on Amazon in a day or two.
yeah, yeah, it should be available on Amazon in a day or two. So as I said, it got uploaded on Tuesday because Monday was a holiday, and then they say it takes about 72 hours. It actually it became available, but there were some issues with from the Amazon side. So I went back and said, hey, I need you to make these changes. And then it kind of starts the clock again, that 72-hour clock. So yeah, 72-hour clock again. So I have a feeling and there's actually one change I'm going to make. Even so, when I go on Amazon now, I can see the book, but there's a glaring change that needs to be made. So that may start the clock again, which means the book might not be available until Sunday or Monday. But that's the last change. I've made one revision. All those changes were made. So now I've got to make one more. But I would say Sunday or Monday.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I was going to ask something else. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting
You
late in
have
the
it,
day,
having your
but
senior moments.
yeah, been getting a few of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but you do have to run, so we can cut this short. Any closing remarks for anybody? Or?
No, it's just, if people don't know this, and these are statistics that come from the Census Department, not from me, but I always encourage more people particularly young people, to pursue entrepreneurship or at least consider it. Entrepreneurship, or in small businesses are really creating most of the net jobs in the world, not only in the United States, but all over the world, and have done so for the last, 4 decades. So, we need to create jobs, and small businesses are the the engine that's doing that. So, we need more entrepreneurs. I do everything I can to try to encourage young people, whether they're high school, college, maybe even younger, to consider going down this path. I let them know up front it's incredibly difficult, so you're going to need help along the way. And so, but absolutely try it, and but then surround yourself with as many experienced voices in the field, so that you have as clear a path to success as possible. Um, so yeah, that would be. I would just encourage people to consider entrepreneurship, and if you decide you're crazy enough to to do this like I do, if please if I can be of help, reach out to me, and I'm my website is www.thinkbigwithjeffreykent.com. Reach out to me. I'm happy to help. I've gotten a group on Lineable. You can get a free membership on Lineable and join the Entrepreneur University group, which is my group. And I try to provide all kinds of free resources to entrepreneurs through that group. Again, to give as high a probability for success as possible through mentorship and access to information.
Yeah. Speaking of starting off at a young age, a couple weeks ago, my guest on my podcast was a 14-year-old girl who,
Okay.
at the age of 5, knew what she wanted to do in life.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I was working in the hospice field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And at the age of 5, because her grandfather was on hospice,
oh, okay.
and the girl that was coming in to help him, she she said to her mother one day, says, "I want to be her when I get
Yeah.
older."
Okay. Okay.
And at the age of 14, this girl has read over 200 books,
Wow.
from romance to medical books.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get her in a conversation about medical, and it's like nonstop talking.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
can tell you how the brain functions
Okay.
at
Okay.
14. And in school, she started a group that in their spare time,
Hmm.
they work with special needs kids in the
Wow.
school.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
So
incredibly commendable.
she was at a party I was at on Easter Sunday,
Yeah.
and I sat at the table listening to her and my sister-in-law in a conversation that lasted at least an hour, if not
Okay.
more.
Okay.
Couldn't even pay attention to what was going on in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
That conversation caught me intensely. And I said to her in the middle of it, I said, "I need you on my podcast."
Right. Okay. Okay.
The things coming out of this 14-year-old was incredible. So, yeah,
Well,
like you
well,
said,
to that point, so in my Entrepreneur University group on Lineable, I actually every other Wednesday I teach a six-part series that shows entrepreneurs how to launch, exponentially scale the growth to a desired exit and create, secure their future, create generational wealth for their family through this series. So going back a couple of months, I had an adult attend one of my sessions and asked me if their daughter could attend the next session. And so I'm like, well, sure. So the daughter came um, and so the session was about, how would you form strategic alliances with larger companies as a way to, jumpstart growing your business. And so come to find out, this young lady, had already written a book with some of her classmates. And so she took, after sitting through that session, ended up, you know, uh, introducing herself to the CEO of the largest venue space in New Orleans and getting a speaking engagement and a book signing, you know. And so she came back the following week and told me this. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is what I love about children. They just take information and apply it, right? Adults will think of everything that could go wrong and
Yeah.
convince ourselves not to do something, right? But kids will just do it. And so I was like, would you mind telling that story in my book? You know, and so one of my introductions, I have two introductions in the book, but one of the introductions is written by this young lady who is 11 years old, you know.
See, folks, never underestimate kids.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes they're smarter than we are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not sometimes, usually most times.
All right. I know you got to run.
All right.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. And we'll be talking again.
All right, sounds good.
You're
Thanks.
welcome to come back whenever you want.
Okay, sounds good. I'll come back for when I finish my the next book.
All right.
All right. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye, Jeff. All right. Good. Are you there?
I am here.
So there's another book for you to buy, Kurt.
There you go. You're helping my purchasing experiences. Very good.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second time Geoffrey has been on my podcast, and I'm sure he'll be back again.
That's good. That all adds to it here because yeah, that adds to the reporting and journey and audience experience to compare the message first time, now today's message, and then another one. Sometimes it's an interesting value and entertainment and insight, to kind of see the progression of people's work live right here at Revolutionize Your Marketing. So what a deal.
But see that, like he was saying about that 11-year-old, um, she was interested in what he was talking about. The following week, she asked her mother if she could go in, and she goes in, spends one afternoon with him, maybe an hour and a half, I think it is. And then the following week comes back and says that she got a speaking engagement at the largest venue in town. So you just never know where things lead. And then she ended up writing a foreword on his book.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Um, yeah, I experience something in a different rendition of what you guys are talking about with the youngsters. I perform water ski shows with the water ski club for show skiing, water skiing, and so yeah, even just last night we had one of our youngsters for the last couple of years has been playing around being on the stage and being a part of presenting to the audience. And so yeah, she's developing a shtick of her own and her own attraction to what she brings to the show that we never had before. And so now when we do our scripting, she's now part of the script, to be a part of the main show. So what an experience, for a youngster to be able to do. So yeah, we have performers that could be as young as 4 years old, type of deal.
Yeah. Kids can't be taken for granted.
Yeah, and kids really have an appreciation for when the adult community, lets them come up and be a part of it. Because as they're going through life, they're always looking at, like when they watch television or they watch movies or they're at an event or they're watching the NBA or, the things that they consume that are from the adult community, they're all the time thinking about, whether they're actively or not, maybe intuitively or even unconsciously or subconsciously, it becomes like, what is this thing that this adult is doing? What does it have to do with me? And sometimes it develops dreams, like somebody, when a kid aspires to maybe someday think that they'll be, in the police service or fire service, or, somebody thinks, the youngster 5 years old maybe thinking they're going to be in the army, or, who knows what they aspire to. So yeah, when they have a chance to actually do stuff with the adult community
Yeah.
and understand that could have been an adult doing that, but it was me, and I experienced that with my father. I mean, I was a teenager. I was in high school actually, and he gave me the opportunity to be a Toastmaster with Lions International and introduce Glory Day, Hall of Famer Packer Ray Nitschke, the Ruffian, number 66, and tell the whole crowd of adult members to that district in Lions International and at their convention to be a part of that. That was pretty impactful for me to have that opportunity to address that whole crowd, and then look over, Ray Nitschke's right there and his big beefy meaty hands, there you go. And I'm the one that opened the stage for him, and then all the reactions I got when the whole banquet was done, the adults coming up to me and really thinking it was kind of cool that a high school teenager stepped up to do that type of thing. So
Yeah. Which talking about little kids too, young kids,
yeah.
brings makes me remember an old I want to say game show, but it wasn't really a game, a show on TV. I don't know if you've heard of it or not. Um, are you smarter than a 5-year-old?
No, it's a fifth grader.
The fifth grader. That's
Fifth.
right. Fifth grader.
Yeah.
Hey, I had the number right.
Yeah. But a little different age category because you're talking more like a 12-year-old then, right?
Yeah. But oh no, that there's that one, and then there was also one kids say the darndest things. That's the one I was thinking of. That's the younger kids. I think it was Bill
Oh, yeah.
Cosby. Bill Crosby had that one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill
Kids say
Cosby.
the darndest things.
Yeah.
I remember growing up listening to that, and yeah, kids like my wife runs a daycare, and the 3-year-olds in a daycare. Sometimes they come out with things that just crack us up.
Yeah. And some of it is like, putting the context of the show, revolutionize your marketing. We can look at all of us still have that kid in us, and we get a kick out of it that the kid is doing something that we celebrate that they did. We wouldn't as much do it because it would seem immature for us to do it, but we kind of celebrate that they did it for us because it is kind of the expression, and then can't take claim to the creativity that the kid shares, but it is something to think about in marketing, you know,
Yeah,
what we're doing, with the audience in terms of different ways you can appeal to them. And so to say one thing to think about when you're setting up your marketing is don't forget all of us adults, even senior citizens, have a little kid in them.
yeah. And another thing too is if you're stuck on an idea on something on marketing, ask the kids.
Yeah.
Kids, kids will come up with a good idea because um, who loves to shop more than kids?
Yeah.
Go to a local mall. Look at the people that are walking around the mall.
Oh, and that's so true. That is a definite marketing approach that when you elicit the kid to go to mommy or to go to daddy and say, Mommy, can I have this? Or Daddy, can I have that? Now you got a purchasing question. Am I going to let my kid have this? What a way to call the question. What about buying the thing? Your kid wants it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like if you don't know how to put something out there, if you need something to grab people's attention to make for them to make a purchase, talk to a teenager. teenagers do more buying than adults do.
And maybe you're onto something, we have our own, IQ and intelligence, and you have EI, emotional intelligence, you got AI, artificial intelligence. Maybe we're introducing right here at Revolutionize Your Marketing, JI, juvenile intelligence.
I like that. I'll have to remember that one.
There's something to be said about it. There you go.
Juvenile intelligence.
Yeah,
I like that.
this society we live in, it seems like you just got to put the right label on it and it catches on really well. So maybe
See that,
that's
folks? We're revolutionizing marketing right here in front of you.
for sure. So what else do you have, John? Is that a wrap, or we got another
Um,
objective here before we conclude? What do we need to do?
well, at the end of the month, there in a particular business magazine, there is a 3-page article coming out about me. And how it is to be an entrepreneur. Page 2 and page 3 is about our great platform of Alignable, which I had nothing to do with that part. It's part of my article that they're doing on me, but and come to find out, the person from the magazine that approached me recently became an ambassador on Alignable. So yes, I am also partnered with that magazine now too. And real quickly, Chuck, why don't we talk about the telethon we have coming up?
All right, the telethon will be Saturday, June 7th, from noon to 8 Eastern. It'll start in Toronto, go to Illinois, and it's a live stream. And so you can go to connecttoyourcity.com to watch the live stream video of the Veterans First Initiative Telethon. And then Connect to Your City is out of Phoenix, Arizona. And so they'll be handling the beginning of the second half of the program. So again, it's 8 hours worth. So 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. And the final 2 hours will be out of LA. So they'll culminate the last 2 hours for 8 hours of our veteran devotion on Saturday, June 7th. Again, tune in at connecttoyourcity.com. That's a whole platform with 220 networks on it, and 25 of the networks are at the start here are for sure going to be covering it right at the culmination of these plans. So very accessible there, and we'll be able to Google it and whatever else to find it and connect in. And you can reach out to us here if you have any questions on that. You can email me, Kurt at spiritofthegame.org, or give me a call and text me, 262-372-1754. And with that, John, I'm wondering if we can wrap up, because with the schedule here, I've got 2 minutes and then I'm on to the next program. So are we at a wrap here? Or you got one more thing?
We are on a wrap. I am done.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time right here at Revolutionize Your Marketing. Thanks for
Thank you,
tuning in.
folks. If you're viewing it on